Well, we've reached the quarter mark of the NHL season in the 2023-2024 year, and the New Jersey Devils are off to an average start, really. 10-9-1, 21 points through 20 games. I'm James Birle for WFUV Sports, and the story of this season so far has kind of been one of underwhelming, not reaching their full potential, and not playing 60-minute hockey games. Unfortunately, that's been the case for the New Jersey Devils, who defied all sorts of expectations last year with a 63-point turnaround, a 112-point finish, the best in franchise history, en route to a second-round playoff berth where they ultimately fell to the Carolina Hurricanes. And this year, they did not come out of the gates that strongly. 1-1-1 in their first three games, which is where I feel I left everyone last. And since then, it's been kind of up and down. A lot of it has been critical of defense and goaltending, and a lot of it has been due to injury. The Devils have been without Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier for good parts of this opening quarter of the year. Both of those guys are back and thriving on the ice, but they just lost Dougie Hamilton as well as Timo Meier and Erik Haula. Who knows how long those guys are going to be out, and it has been a struggle for the New Jersey Devils so far, particularly in their last 6 or so games. They haven't looked fantastic. They looked to turn a corner on Thursday, November the 16th with a big 5-2 win over the Penguins. To that point of the season, it had been their best performance, and they followed that up with another strong performance. Unfortunately, they fell 5-3 against the New York Rangers. A really tight game. They actually went up 3-2 in that third period off a goal from Erik Haula, who seems to love his games against the Rangers. This one went the other way, though, with Jimmy Vesey scoring a winner late and doubling it up with a 5-3 empty net winner to give them their foes from New York a big victory. Then, seemingly with a lot of morale to have been brought back for the team, they went to Little Caesars Arena in Detroit with a lot to prove. And boy, did that not go well. They lost 4-0 and gave up 3 goals in about a minute and 11 seconds to end that first period. Vitek Vanacek was criticized heavily for this performance and for a lot of his performance on the year. He's got a sub 900 goal save percentage, and above 3.6 goals against average. He's really struggled. Akira Schmid hasn't looked much better, but in his last 5 or 6 games for the Swiss-born netminder, he has been rather good and warrants more starts going down the line. Vanacek, on the other hand, seems to be playing without a lot of confidence, and that was shown not only in this game against Detroit, but through his start to the season thus far. At this point last year, he was at a 9.23 save percentage and could have been the Devils' MVP. He was helping them steal games in their historic 13-game win streak through the early part of November. That hasn't been that way yet for New Jersey. They've only got 10 wins, let alone 13 in a row, and they followed that demoralizing defeat to the Red Wings with another one. And this was when questions started to be asked of Lindy Ruff officially. Is he the right man to take this Devils team forward with a 2-1 loss to a vulnerable and not so star-studded Columbus Blue Jackets team at home 2-1, a game in which the Devils really didn't wake up until the third period? Where have we heard that? All season long and going back into last year, they've been a comeback team, but this is the weekend where they started to turn things around. The following weekend, Saturday, November 25th, they took the Sabres to Pound Town 7-2. The Devils did not for 1 minute look the inferior side in that game. And then, with all the odds pointing against to their old patterns, they fell early to the New York Islanders, giving up an early goal. They found themselves down 2 in the third period, but a 3-goal third period for the New Jersey Devils, sparked by the third line, really, with Curtis Lazar, Mike McLeod, and Alex Holtz, for me, being the most impressive in their most recent game, getting the plaudits with a late 22-second left goal from Curtis Lazar, Alex Holtz, and that McLeod line. So great work from them to see them going. And Alex Holtz is really a guy who's blossomed lately. But still, a lot of the discussion has been injuries, defense, and goaltending. Since losing Damon Severson and Ryan Graves, the New Jersey Devils defense just hasn't been as stable as it once was. And guys like Luke Hughes are still adapting to the NHL game. Dougie Hamilton has to step up a little bit more in defensive capabilities when he returns from injury, and they've got to block more shots. They had a guy like Ryan Graves blocking 152 shots last season, and that's a big void to fill, especially when Kevin Ball was expected to step up into that role and has looked solid, but not immense like he was in the third pairing last year. And John Marino has been just as solid as you would expect him to be. But once the Devils find stable partnerships in defense and really work these things out, then you could expect them to start shoring up some stops in front of their goaltenders who, even though the defense hasn't been perfect, do need to step up a little bit more. Vanacek has been underwhelming, to say the least, and while Schmidt seems to have turned something of a corner, he hasn't been as good as the Devils fans know he can be. And that's no mystery now that Tom Fitzgerald has asked around the league for goaltenders. The Devils could be in a market for a new netminder if Vanacek can't, as Lindy Ruff put it, get the numbers back to where they want them to be. And where they want them to be is where he was last season. But Jack Hughes is stepping up in a big way in a leadership role, and he thinks it's harmful for the Devils to keep thinking back to last season. Here is the young star talking about that.
I feel like sort of a win from last year, you guys, were so resilient, comes back.
I don't know, man. We talk about last year way too much. Like, we were good, but we got to put that in the rearview mirror. We know we have a really good hockey club in here, and now it's just about doing it night after night, So even tonight, we probably didn't play a full 60 minutes, but, 2 weeks ago came in here and said, good teams find a way to win those games, and tonight we were that team.
A couple games ago, you said that.
New Jersey's got a crucial one tonight against the Philadelphia Flyers, and John Tortorella's gotten them playing certainly better than the sum of their parts, expected to be in the basement of the Metropolitan Division. They're in 4th, the Devils, of course, in 6th. So a big game coming up for them on the road tonight before they're going to welcome the San Jose Sharks for a Friday night hockey game to open up December before heading out to the Pacific Northwest on a tough Western Canada road trip that they actually did sweep last year, and the New York Rangers swept this year. So there's been some success for New York area teams going out to Western Canada as of late, but it's never an easy thing to do. It's been an interesting year for New Jersey so far. There hasn't been any fire Lindy or sorry Lindy thus far yet, but it's been underwhelming in some areas, but they seem to have just turned a corner with these couple of wins against the Sabres and Islanders. They really looked dominant against Buffalo, fell into some of their old habits against the Islanders, but still pulled out a very inspiring victory. And at the core of that, yes, was Lazar McLeod and Alex Holtz, but Brendan Smith getting in a couple fights over this past few weeks in his new role as a fourth-line winger. The once maligned defenseman Brendan Smith has now stepped into a new role as the gritty forward and has gotten to not only a couple of fights, but has had some pretty impactful shifts digging into the corners for the Devils and has really found something of a place in this team. Perhaps with Dougie Hamilton injured, Brendan Smith will move back to defense. Time will tell for Lindy Ruff's New Jersey Devils, but a quarter way through the year, they have just enough in their back pockets to fuel a charge similar to that of 2022-2023, but according to Jack Hughes, they've got to do it their own way this year. For WFV Sports, I'm James Birle. I will see you guys next time.